Hey guys, what's going on? Robert Warshak here, and we're going to be covering a beginner guide to Hearthstone Mercenaries. I know there's a lot of skepticism around this game mode, and there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and we are very frustrated with the presentation that was given to us at first because it was hard to follow, it was an information overload, and it didn't really tell us how the game was played. So I got some footage here of actual matches being played, how the units fight, the abilities, what a run would look like, what the rewards look like, and I have gotten quite a bit of information to relay to you guys, so hopefully you could understand how this game mode works if it's an interest to you. So first things first is it's not just pay to win. The game does provide you with 8 heroes for just completing the tutorial. So you don't have to pay any money. You complete the tutorial, it gives you 8 units. Hopefully these units are pretty good. I don't know how powerful or what the meta is gonna look like, but it does give you 8 to start off with, and from what I understand, it also provides you with its basically currency to craft more heroes, very similar to standard mode. So you will have the ability to craft a couple heroes that you like. Also with the pre-orders, I know the pre-order you get like Sylvanas, Diablo, a Lich King, and things like that. You'll be able to craft those without pre-ordering. So don't think if you don't pre-order, you're never gonna be able to play Diablo. You can just craft the card like normal. That's just a little extra perk for the pre-order, which by the way, two $50 pre-orders and a $30 pre-order for a game mode that we don't even know how it looks like, never have played it, is pretty outrageous to me. Granted, even with that, I'm still gonna try to give this game mode the best look I can. I'm excited for any new game mode. I hope it's awesome. I hope it's really cool. And from what I've seen, the gameplay does look fairly smooth. It does look fun, but the way that they presented it probably wasn't the best way to present it. And of course, with the price tag that they put on, again, this game mode that we've yet to play or see any game footage of. So with that, let's look at some game footage, how a game plays out. And I'm basically going to describe how the fights occur, what's happening, and all that good stuff. So we have Bounties, which is on our screen right here. These Bounties are basically going to be like a quest that we're going to go on. And through that quest, we're going to have an end boss who we're going to kill, obviously the bounty. And then we have to fight a bunch of, you could say, lackeys or his gruntlings. We have to go on a little pilgrimage before we can just fight the end game guy. And as we progress through the map and get to him, we'll be getting rewards along the ways, treasure, and things like that. So before you enter, you pick your bounty that you want to pick. They all have levels correlating to like basically how strong your guys are. And then you go to choose a team. This team is going to be comprised of heroes that you select, very similar to like a standard deck, how you put 30 cards in a deck. Out of the heroes that you have, you put 6 together. The heroes come in 3 different shapes and forms. We have red, green, and blue. So red portrait heroes are tanks. These things don't do a ton of damage. They provide support to the team. They have a lot of life. You know what a tank does. Tanks will do 2x damage to the green guys. The green guys are your brawlers or your fighters. These are going to do a decent amount of damage. They're built around basically melee attacks. So tanks are good against green. The greens, however, are really good at fighting mages. Similar to most games, if you have a rogue that jumps on a mage, the rogue's probably going to destroy the mage, but the mage does really well against the tanks. And we can see that in this diagram here. Again, red being tank, green being brawlers, and blue being mages. And if it's not part of this diagram, it's going to do normal damage. It doesn't have any multiplier attached to it. So this is a very simple yet interesting dynamic that flows between these. So obviously making a balanced team, all of one color, probably not the best way to go. You want more of a balanced diet. So now that we covered what the cards look like and how you build your team, let's choose one and get into a game here. So our team will be comprised of 2, 2, and 2, just to keep it balanced. And we're going to go ahead, and this is what the map looks like, the top part being where the boss is, and we start at the bottom, and we'll click on the first person we can attack to. As we move basically through this map, we'll be able to choose different routes, which will have different rewards and different pathways that we can take, which we'll get into once we have that selection available to us. But first, let's just look at a match. Let's see what the first NPC fight looks like. And again, there will be NPCs that we can fight in this game, and there will also be PvP that we can play. So in the starting hand, we will start with all 6 of our heroes, which we can place on the game board in whichever way we would like and see fit. Once you place 3 heroes down, the remaining heroes will be shuffled back into our deck. And then once if any of the current heroes on the battlefield fall, the cards in our deck will come back to like our bench or our hand, and then you get to play one. So you'll always basically have 3 heroes out for as long as you have heroes to play. So once we get to the command phase here, it will bring up your hero's abilities. You will choose them as you see fit, and we'll discuss what the numbers mean. So this 6 with this icon of speed next to it. That's what that little wind icon is speed, is how fast the attack triggers. As you get closer to 1, so 1 would be the fastest speed, or 0 would be the fastest speed, with the speeds getting slower and slower as you go up. So if there's an attack that has a 1 speed, and there's an attack that has a 5 speed, the 1 speed attack will go first, so that character will attack before the other one does. There's obviously benefits to having more faster attacks versus more slower attacks. We also look closer to this little hourglass here with the number 1 next to it. That means you have to wait 1 turn to use it, so he can't use those abilities just yet. So the only ability for him to use is the first one with a speed of 6. He is a red character. He does more damage to green characters, but unfortunately our opponent has no green characters, so he opts to just hit the person in front of him. Now that we've moved to our middle unit, as you can see here, there's 1 hourglass with a 1. We cannot use that ability yet, but we can, however, use what looks to be lightning bolt, or this thing in the middle. The lightning bolt has a speed of 5, and this ability in the middle has a speed of 4. And again, you can pick whoever you want with what ability to use. Sometimes you can even target your own characters if you've got a heal. Some of the tanks do healing, like Lich King. He has a Death Coil ability that heals your own guys, which we'll cover later. But yeah, so we might see the lightning bolt, and because all of the opposing players are red, it's going to do double damage. So picking 2 blues against a team full of red is going to work out in our favor very much so here, because again, they're going to do double damage. So before combat starts, let's take a look at the numbers next to our card portraits names, right? If we look at ours, we have a 3rd, a 1st, and a 1st. And if we look at our opponent, we have a 3rd, a 5th, and a 6th. What the hell does this mean? So when combat starts, after all abilities have been chosen, obviously the ones that go first are going to attack first. So because we have 2 firsts, it's going to randomly select which one attacks first. So a flip of the coin. If you play Hearthstone, you're very familiar with this concept of just flipping a coin to see what happens. So with having 2 firsts, these minions will have a 50-50 chance to whichever one attack first, and then the following one will attack second. Then we'll go to the thirds. Again, since there's 2 thirds, us and them, it will be a 50-50, depending on who attacks. And then we have a 5th and a 6th, which is easily decided because the 5th and the 6th, there's no other person with those numbers. So therefore, they will just go in that order. So when taking a look at the combat here, let's get in. Our middle guy attacks first, and then next, the right one should attack because those are our 2 firsts. From there, we had 2 thirds, so it could be their guy, and then our guy on the left will attack now, and then it'll be their middle guy because he was a 5th or a 7th, and then we'll have the other one on the very right, I believe, with an 8, which is a very slow attack, but it must be very powerful. Granted, it's a very slow attack. So now, remember last turn how we had the hourglass stopping this guy from being able to use some of his abilities? As we can see here, these abilities have been opened up, and we no longer have to wait for them to be casted. We have the option to cast whatever ability we want based on the situation that we have at hand. So I believe we use the middle one, the Endurance Aura, which gives this guy Taunt, and it makes your party speed 5x faster. So basically, whatever option we pick here, this is going to be like a number 1 Chain Lightning. And remember, they won't start immediately at 1. Our bottom left guy will have to use his first, which we'll see here. And now our speeds are increased, which means all of our numbers change. So we have a 0 mana attack, which is going to proc before everybody else, and a 1, which is going to attack before everybody else. Remember, that guy does double damage. So he's going to do a crap ton of damage. These blue guys are huge. And then again, because this unit has Taunt, they're automatically going to have to attack him because he gave himself that ability. So again, now as we can see here, if we look at the first guy, because we just used Taunt the previous turn, and it did have that 1 turn cooldown with the hourglass, we can't use that middle ability again because it does have that cooldown. That'd be kind of broken, right, to use these abilities with cooldown each and every turn. So now we have the option between the very most left spell or the very most right spell. And again, the right spell also had a cooldown of 1. So if we end up using the right ability, next turn we won't be able to, but we could use that middle ability again. So depending, again, on the situation and what you're wanting to do, you can use your abilities like so. So we have another turn here. We have a middle, which is going to go first, and this is pretty much just going to kill his guy, and that's it. So that would be what a 1 round looks like. Again, this is like the very first part of a bounty. It's going to be quite easy. It shouldn't really take that long, and I like that. I don't really have to sit there for 5 to 10 minutes to play out like what is one part of a huge bounty. Once you complete basically the first enemy you fight on your road to the final bounty, you'll have the option to pick treasures. And treasures basically just make your team or your guy stronger. So you have the ability to pick any one of these three. They'll go on your ability bar, so when you start fighting, you'll see them pop up. And these abilities that are these treasures that you get throughout a bounty will be with your guy until that bounty is over, whether you win it or whether you lose it. And then after that, that's it. Your guy doesn't keep these permanent upgrades. It only is applied towards the route you're currently taking on like the bounty, right? Like if you get this ability, you can't go into PvP against another player and use your bounty treasures to absolutely destroy your opponent if you have a shit ton of treasures. So these are only for this PvE kind of route you're taking. And as we can see here, we had the ability to move up because we completed the first part, right? So now we have two routes to take. We can take the left route, which we, again, fight and battle some more. Or we can go on the right route, which has this little spirit healer. If you're, again, familiar with World of Warcraft, you're very familiar with the spirit healer. And what does a spirit healer do? So if any of your basically minions or heroes die in battle, they're dead for that dungeon run. You don't lose the card or anything, but they're dead. And then you only have the option for 5. And if another one dies, then you only have the option for 4. So at the start of the game, if you've got 3 dead heroes, you only have the 3, and you don't get to pick between the 6, right? Until either, again, you win or the dungeon run is over. But with the spirit healers, you can bring back a dead ally to full health. So if you're losing heroes left and right, it might be in your best interest to stop at a spirit healer and bring them back. But remember, if you're stopping at the spirit healer, you're missing out on fighting. Fighting gives you experience. Fighting gives you treasures and other rewards that'll make your character stronger, so that when you fight the final bounty guy, you have enough power to defeat him. Because it would really suck to make it to the final guy and then lose, and then you got to do the whole thing over again. So we're going to go on the left-hand side. We're going to go ahead and kill this unit because, again, none of our characters are dead, right? So it doesn't really make much sense for us to go to the spirit healer. We want more treasures. We want more experience. And also keep in mind, as you're progressing through this and killing more and more enemies, each time you win, your guys are getting experience. All of the heroes that are currently in your party. So we have an opening hand here. He's going to pick the Lich King, which is quite nice. We didn't see any greens the last game, so we do have a Blade Master Samaro coming down. And then we might actually see another blue here. You can see Brokon coming in the middle here. So, again, we got to see all of the flavors of the different classes here. We have red, blue, and green, and we'll probably see attacking based on what their 2x bonuses are. Because remember, if the red attacks a green, it does 2x. If the blue attacks a red, it's 2x. And if the green attacks a blue, it's 2x. So we'll see the ordering probably follow who they're able to do the most damage to. And as we can see, Blade Samaro is attacking that blue unit. And as we can see, the ordering is taking place based on what it said. It would go first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and all the way down. My God, that blue unit just took double damage from the Blade Master, which killed it almost in one hit, and Lich King cleans it up. We had the blue attacking the red, which did 28 damage, which again, double damage, quite nice. We have the Death Coil from Lich King being used on our own unit there. So again, you have abilities that can be used on your opponent's minions, on your minions. And since the Lich King, as we can see in the bottom right, has a first, and our opponents all have first, we're going to hope the Lich King heals the Blade Master before it takes damage from the opponent's minions, which it does. So the Blade Master is going to get healed plus 30. So hopefully this will keep it from dying. But I don't think it will. Because remember that tank is going to do, the red does double damage to Blade Master because he's red and Blade Master is green. So we lost Blade Master. So once a hero that you have dies, the remaining heroes, if you have any, will come out of the deck. And then you have the option here to be able to pick whichever one you want to enter the battlefield. It wants you to always have 3 minions down. So we're going to go with the blue unit here to throw down on the battlefield, but it's not going to matter too much because your opponent only has 1 left. So now that it's a 1-on-3, this should be a pretty easy fight for our 3 units to pick up. It does show our opponent's unit going first based on the attack that they've selected. None of our attacks look like they're going first, and it also looks like the owl might be immune. So this is probably a pretty powerful ability for Ironbeak Owl. And I'm sure it has some sort of cooldown because being immune each turn seems to be a little nuts because all of our characters are using abilities and none of them are doing any damage. So I can't assume that ability is cooldownless. So since our tank is red and their guy is green, and he just used Death Coil, which does 18 damage. The first hit from the Lich King should probably be able to clear up this owl, because 18 times 2 is 36, and 36 damage is more than the 22 remaining health on the owl. So this should be a pretty easy fight here. And there it is. And there we have it. So we took another win there, but we did lose a unit. So with having to lose a unit here, we're probably going to want to stop at a spirit healer to bring that unit back to life. Because again, we want all of our units available so we don't lose. But first, we got to pick a treasure. So from here, we're going to be able to buff a unit. Even though we haven't seen this unit on the battlefield yet, all the units in your party, as you're progressing through to get your bounty, are going to get experience. So as we can see here, we have a spirit healer available to us to visit. Once you click on the spirit healer, it'll give you the option to resurrect what other hero has died. Since we see the skull on the Blade Master Samaro, we're going to go ahead and opt to bring back the Samaro. So now we're back to 6 units instead of 5. The problem again with visiting the spirit healer is that you're missing out on the possible experience and treasures of defeating some of these monsters on the way to the final bounty. And as we can see here, there's different basically icons which symbolize the difficulty of the units that we're fighting. So this is just would be a normal unit. It just has the circle with, you know, the attack through it. But if we look down here, the one prior to it had a, you know, the 3 spikes, which symbolizes an elite, which would be a harder opponent to kill with hopefully greater rewards. So since we've seen 2 fights here, let's go ahead and go to what will be the final fight, or the big bounty, or the reason that you'd go on this little pilgrimage here to get these final rewards to hopefully kill the final guy. So again, we can see that he is an elite, and not only is he elite, he's a golden elite, which is probably going to make him quite difficult to kill. And I'm assuming the fight for this guy is going to take longer than, you know, 2 to 3 battle phases, right? So Snowclaw is our final guy that we're going to kill here, and we'll see what that fight looks like. I know this is a massive amount of information very quickly, but I'm trying to go through just the main points, show you the fights, explain everything, and if you need to rewatch it or slow it down, totally understandable. I know I'm spitting facts out, I'm spitting info out like crazy. So sorry if it's a lot to follow, but I'm doing my best. So with this, we can see the fight started here. Since we skipped basically a shit ton of other fights before this, we only have 3 guys in our hand. And with only having 3 units in our hand, I can assume that the other 3 units died, and he has to basically kill the final boss with just what we have left. He didn't visit any spirit healers to bring back the other 3 that might have fallen, or all 3 had fallen the previous fight when he fought the other elite unit. So again, you can place these in any direction that you want onto the battlefield. He's got 2 tanks left and a brawler. Our opponent is a blue, which means the brawler, the green guy, will do 2x damage to the final boss, but he does have 150 health, which is a shit ton of health with 2 totems next to him. So there's some sort of ability I think that the opponent's using to make our abilities be very slow, because I don't recall these abilities being 9s and 10s and 12s. So the enemy is definitely going to be attacking first, and I don't know how much damage he can do. But again, we have a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So deal 8 damage to a character, and its ability is 2x slower. So our opponent is making all of our stuff exceedingly slow. Oh my god, the totem just did 30 damage to our guy. Oh my god, it did another 30 damage to our guy. So I'm assuming those totems absolutely need to be killed. Those totems look broken. So again, this is going to be a fight where the boss is basically going to be able to attack us first, and we're going to be using abilities that, honestly, they could be the slowest abilities we have, because the order doesn't matter, because he's always going to attack first. So it might just be in our best interest to use our slowest abilities to kill this guy because of what he can do. So he's going to be able to do, oh my god, he did 10 damage. Oh my gosh, he did 10 damage to 2 units, 5, and summoned 2 more totems. Oh my gosh. This guy seems insane. He's nuts. I don't know how we're gonna. Are we just like hyper killing the boss here? Like, what's going on? Like, our abilities are getting slower. He's summoning more totems, and he's doing like 30 damage a turn. Holy shit. Maybe we're just supposed to like Zerg rush the boss here. So we're just choosing our abilities that are, again, not off cooldown, or are off cooldown. because again, if they have that timer next to them, we can't use them. We can't use the same ability every turn if it has that 1 to 2 turn cooldown, depending on, again, what it does. So our tanks are holding it together here. We're doing a decent amount of damage. I would like to see this green unit attack his blue unit. There it is. We're going to deal double damage. So we just did 40 damage to that boss. And it looks like we will be able to clean him up, but I don't think we're going to have many more units left after this, because I'm pretty sure our 2 tanks going to die, and then the hunter is going to be the last surviving dude. And again, it doesn't matter how many dudes are left, as long as we win, that's all that matters. We could have 1 guy left, but that's all that matters. We're going to get experience for everybody on the team. So there's the freeze. Oh god, we lost the tank. Yeah, he used Death Coil to heal himself and to deal damage to the opponent, which did 18, which took him out. But then our guy died. Oh my god, we have to kill all the totems? But the totems shouldn't do any damage because the leader died. So we have our 1 dude left, and he's going against these 5 totems, but the totems don't have any attack, so it's just what their ability is. This is just going to be one of those, we'll pick off the totems one by one. With the boss dead, this should be a fairly easy fight from here, so I'll speed it up a little bit. So as we can see here, they're just progressing through the moments, we're killing off the totems, and then once we get this complete, I'm not gonna lie, that did seem a little tedious, but you know, if that's a strategy to defeat a boss based on the team size we had left, so be it. So from here, so with this now, we have completed all of our pathway and the final boss, which will unlock the chest. And in this chest, so far, I have only seen experience for heroes. I have not seen any packs yet, but I'm assuming that they will hopefully be added, because it would feel really bad to complete some of these harder, you know, bounties, and we only get experience at the end. And remember, the experience is going to be able to make our heroes stronger, so we can level them up and make them have more attack, more HP. I know, again, that was a shit ton of information, but I figured the best way to like introduce it is to show you how the game works, right? You can show pictures and little graphs all the time, but I think the best way to see a game played, and if it's something that interests you, is to just look at the battle, understand how the mechanics work, and then obviously when it comes out, you'll be able to get actual experience. So with that, hopefully this beginner guide and understanding how this game mode works treated you well, and you understood it, hopefully. And if you did like it, throw a like, throw a comment. I'd love to know what you think. This is a big game mode. This is Hearthstone's biggest update ever. And again, I only wanted to go over gameplay because, again, like the whole crafting system and what the like the tavern of like what your main login screen looks like isn't part of this video. I just wanted to go over gameplay and how it actually works. Once the game comes out, we can take a deeper dive at like crafting guides and all that stuff. But for now, just the gameplay. How does the game function? Does it look good? Does it look fun? Do we like it? So with that, hopefully you've enjoyed again, and I'll see you in the next video. Of course, as always, I'm Robert Warshak, and happy whatever the hell day it is.